Hey there, you found Off the Water, the premier kayak fishing show for the Gulf Coast. We interview the best anglers to find out what they did, where they went, and what they used. Fishing reports, cool products and accessories, upcoming kayak tournaments, kayak safety, rigging tips and tricks, sponsor highlights, club member specials, and more, all on Off the Water, live and podcast. And now, here's your host of Off the Water, Mr. Sean Rastanis.
Hey guys, can you hear me now? Y'all able to hear me now, guys? Okay, well, let's start this again. Now that we're off with the audio and the video, looks like we're back up and running. The more complicated I make it to make it look pretty for you guys, the more issues I have. So anyways, welcome back to another episode of Off the Water. It's hard to believe we're October 2022 already, almost midway. Most of the big tournaments over with. We still have a couple of big ones coming up. Fishing is really starting to heat up. Really looking forward to this time of year. Is always my favorite time of the year for fishing. Life in general, you got the holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then, of course, we've got all the fishing tournaments. The fishing's great. The crabbing's great. The problem is there's so much football and there's too much to do, honestly. And for me, work is busiest this time of year. So it's a real challenge trying to cram everything in. And also family. Don't forget about family. It's also a challenge to try to fit everything in for these really 2 or 3 months that we get that the fishing and everything's real nice. You want to be outside. So I wanted to go back and thank Doug Menifee and Brock Miller for coming on last week. We were supposed to cover some things, but we went over with those guys. It was a great conversation. They shared with us a lot of what happened to them on Fallen Tide, how they were able to catch their slams, finish in the top 2 and everything. So a big thank you to those guys. And also thanks to everyone else watching. A couple things I need to mention first. All the views, opinions, and everything else expressed herein are solely mine and my guests. It does not represent the views, opinions, or general ideas of anyone but me and those that come on. Also, I'm pleased to announce I think we've hit 1 million viewers or listeners recently. So I don't have the hard number on that, but I know this show is very popular. So I'm just assuming that it's at least 1 million at this point, So yeah, there we go. We are working to try to get this back into podcast form. We had it available on podcasts. Certainly you can put it on YouTube, look it up. And we're trying to get back in podcast. So if you missed it or you want to catch part of the show, you're on the road driving, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Jonathan Carter, who's in the background, because I like to have company up here, and I hate being alone. So let me add El Presidente to the stream. Mr. Carter.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
How you doing? I see you have a number of rods in the background. Are those each of those rods specific?
Stash.
What's that?
That's just my extra stash. Can y'all hear me all right?
Your extra stash. Yeah, that's great.
Stash.
God, there's so much to talk about. I was trying to get him on, but the big boys got to him first. A gentleman I met, a friend of a really good friend of mine. I don't know if you guys heard about this incident with the three guys that went out to the Gulf and their boat sank. Feel free to comment below. I can give you a little bit about what I know based on what I'm hearing from my friend, but allegedly they had borrowed a boat. This happened Saturday. For you guys that don't know, they had borrowed a boat from a friend. One of the guys was thinking about buying it. Probably wasn't equipped as it needed to be to go offshore. I don't know. That's just a guess on my part. I'm not sure. But they went out. They were, offshore by rigs, and the boat started taking on water. It sank. They did some quick thinking. They grabbed a couple of ice chests that had water in it. They tied them together and used those to float. They also had a couple of life jackets on board. I understand they weren't probably not the best life jackets, but they were in the water for 28 hours. The boat started taking on water at 10 o'clock in the morning. They spent overnight in the Gulf. They were attacked by sharks. There are some pictures out there. I forgot to download them, but there's some pictures out there of the life jacket of one of the gentlemen with a shark attacked. His fingers were bitten up, fending off the shark. He tried hitting him in the nose, which apparently doesn't work. But quick thinking, what this gentleman did was he used both thumbs and shoved it in the eyes of the shark. I mean, you got to have some cojones to do something like that. I'd have been screaming like a little baby, I guess. I don't want to say girl because some girls out there may have done better than I would have. Shark finally got driven away. Now, one of the guys decided to swim away to see if he could get a cell phone signal. He was able to send the signal, ping his location. Right when he did, his phone died. He was out of battery. They were able to keep that phone dry the whole time until the next day. It's an incredible survival story. It really kind of tells you to think about the things when you're going fishing, when you're on a boat, when you're going to be out. When I go out, especially when I go to my boat or I go offshore, I bring a lot more water than I need just because I never know if it's going to be that time when the boat breaks down or something like that happens. Also, if I plan on going somewhere other than the marsh, I always tell somebody typically where I'm going, like a float plan, especially if I'm going to be out cell phone range. Now, I have an 18-foot boat, but I've got a VHF radio on it, ship-to-shore radio. I've also got my cell phone. For the most part, I'm not far out enough to where I can't get a cell phone signal. But, when you're going out that far, it's always good to let people know, hey, we're going to be checking out these rigs or these floats, these areas. It's always good to have a float plan. I know if I'm out, John or somebody, usually Francis or Ben or somebody always knows, hey, I'm going fishing in the morning. I'm going to Golden Meadow or I'm going to Myrtle Grove. So if I don't show up, they at least know about where I was at so they can try to locate where my truck is and then go from there. So that's a good idea. Life jackets, man, they're so freaking important, especially when you're offshore.
That's the golden rule.
It absolutely is. You got to have life jackets. The other things, we don't do a whole lot of offshore fishing. Obviously, we're a kayak club where we do a lot of kayak fishing, but the ones down there, EPIRBs, inflatable rafts, if you really want to be cautious, even a handheld VHF radio is a good idea. A lot of things you can do. Obviously, if any of our members are interested in going offshore and starting that, I really suggest you look at everything that you might need for safety reasons. Jonathan, I know you had a boat. You used to do a lot of offshore fishing, doing some snapper fishing, but you had an EPIRB on board, didn't you?
Yeah, I had an EPIRB on the boat for sure. If you're going to be going offshore, you have to have that. I mean, you got to have it. But just for the kayak, I mean, I carry a couple big, large gallon Ziploc bags with some safety supplies. This is the safety bag right here. This stays on top in the front hatch. If something happens, this is the first bag I'm going for. And a couple big items that I want to talk about that, some people will probably say it's extreme, and I know a lot of people call me like the safety guy and whatnot, but it's really serious what we do at times, and you don't know how quickly things can change out there. The PFD at a minimum, you have to have that. You should be wearing it the whole time, and you should be wearing it when you're launching, retrieving the kayak, all that. You never know what might happen, but just a handheld VHF radio goes a long ways. Making sure that the battery's charged And for anybody that also does really any outdoor activities, even if you're, if you're camping, hiking, that kind of stuff, something that can save your life is this little device right here. This is a PLB, a personal locator beacon. They're not the cheapest thing, but I mean, they're, a couple $100, but this in a pinch will save your life. You
How does
turn,
that work, Jonathan? I'm not familiar with that one.
so all you do is you pop this out and it has a little antenna right here,
Mm-hmm.
and you just turn it on. The second you turn that on, it broadcasts on all the emergency stations. You turn that on and you're in the marsh, you know, a lot of people say, well, it won't happen to me. I mean, you never know when you're on the water if you have a stroke or a heart attack or something like that.
That's a good point.
I mean, that happens in the marsh and you're even just a couple miles from the launch. If somebody's not coming out to get you, you'll be in a bind real quick.
Wasn't it
And
Squints that got stranded for like 2 days in the marsh last year?
I don't know
Squints
who that
Vinoy,
was.
Jonathan
Somebody did.
Vinoy.
But I mean, or like you could be like the Dogree Award winners, Benjamin Dan,
Yes,
Travis Hole. You get stuck out there, and something bad happens. Nobody's coming to get you, but you have one of these, a couple $100,
Shane.
that will
Yeah.
save your life. And
Oh, it
not
wasn't
only the
Squints.
not
Somebody
only
just
the
said it was Baby Shane. Yeah, Shane
yeah
Curall got
yeah there
stuck.
you
I
go.
forget what happened, but he was out there for a couple of days, as I recall.
Yeah. But the PLBs are really good too, because if you hike or camp or do anything like that out in the woods, you can bring this with you as well. And as soon as you activate this, it'll ping on all the emergency channels and somebody's going to come looking for you. It's a really good thing to have. It's a couple $100. It might be a little bit of investment, but I mean, in my opinion, everybody's life is worth that. I would spend the money on that.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're going offshore, if you can afford gas for an offshore trip, I would definitely have one of those because, you can keep it on you. It's a difference between getting rescued in an hour or two, probably to spending 28 hours. I mean, they were real fortunate. They were able to get a signal. I mean, incredible effort for staying out there, staying alive, fighting through the elements. I know it wasn't the calmest seas, but I'm really glad to see those guys made it home safe. Like I said, they're friends of friends, and of course, we're all a big family anyway. So, okay, well, let's move on from the sad news and
Wear your
also happy news
PFD.
because they were found.
Wear your
Um,
PFD all the time. I will tell
yes,
everybody that till I'm blue in the face. Please.
absolutely. We definitely need them to do that. But also, we need to talk about Trout Challenge. It's coming up. We're a week and a half away. We did a little something to promote it. It was a little different. I'm going to try something here. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get this real quick. Nope, no, I don't want to do that yet. Let me hide that. So I'm fooling around with some new settings on here. So it's kind of interesting. Let's go to let's try this. There we go. We've got Mr. Benjamin Day over here. Coming in and promoting Trout Challenge. He was one of the he signed up here recently, and we'd like to welcome him. Let's Mr. Dean Turner. Looking sharp here in his leather pants and leather jacket and top hat. I think he was maybe headed to an annual festival that they have in the French Quarter that day. That I think he was probably dressed up for. Let's go. This is another one of my favorites, Mr. Mickey Mouse Pole himself, Butch Richdale, got the slam, looking good. He's at least according to Ben Day, is a contender for the Trout Challenge title. He's got him in his top 3, I think.
I think.
Of course,
so.
I'm not going to make fun of everybody without making fun of myself. There I am in all my glory, back in my my band days when I was in a band, with the long hair and everything.
That doesn't look like all that long ago.
Yeah. I was much thinner in my band days. So this is what we're all looking for this weekend. This was a trout tournament we had. I think it was Trout Challenge last year.
Oh my
Mr.
God!
Clayton
I
Schilling
remember that
in Leeville. they went into a pond. I think it was him and Dean Turner went into a pond to go catch some redfish. The tournament was over at this point. They're on their way back to the launch. They go into a pond to catch some redfish, and Clayton lands his hammer of a trout. I think it was over 5 pounds. I remember it was a hammer.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's like, you got to be kidding me,
I think it was like 26 and a half, maybe 27 inches, something like that. Just super fat.
Super fat trout. It was in a pond in the marsh. Of course, it was in Leeville. You can see the bridge in the back. So I remember, Jonathan, were you at the launch when he pulled up with us with that trout, and he was like, "You're not going to believe this just happened to me."
Oh yeah, no, he FaceTimed us all. It was after, I think it was after the weigh-in was over and everything, and him and Dean went out to go catch some redfish to go, just bring home to eat or whatever. And they went out, and they weren't out all that long, and then he FaceTimed everybody and said, "Look at this trout right here."
Yeah.
And he said he caught it just on the outside of a little redfish pond. He said he thought it was a big redfish, and he was fighting it, bringing it in, and he netted it, and he was like, "Holy cow, this is a giant trout."
Yeah. Someone just mentioned it was Minimalist. It may have been after Minimalist. I just remember it was in Leeville. I don't remember exactly when it was. The last couple of years though, because I remember picking up, and Clayton had actually come and talked to us. Actually, I don't think it was Minimalist, because he had come and talked to us at the launch when he was heading to the public launch. We had launched somewhere else.
Trout Challenge 2 years ago, maybe.
2 years ago, right, when it was in Leeville. So, anyways, we've got this tournament coming up. The trout fishing was difficult for Fallen Tide 2 weeks ago. It was on fire before. I want to bring somebody in right now who can talk to us a little bit about what happened before Fallen Tide. He's been fishing LA1 almost every single weekend for all summer. Things are changing down there. I'm sure he's not going to give us some spots, but maybe Action Jack will kind of help us out and maybe tell us what's changing and what he thinks is going on this weekend. Action Jack, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Good, man. Good. I know you got stuck in some traffic tonight, and a couple cars flipping or something, or
yeah, it's just regular spillway tour. You've been there. It's when it rains, it pours. There was a big rainbow like on the way on the north side of Interstate, and I thought about you, but it's gone now. I can send you a picture later.
It probably ended at my little townhome over here, and I was the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that.
Yeah.
I heard y'all talking about safety equipment. Y'all just left the toilet paper and the wipes right off of there. That's
okay.
That's required. That's required safety equipment. If you're too squeamish just to splash it off.
That's the other Ziploc bag that I didn't show. That's right underneath the safety bag.
Just splash it off, right?
I always keep an emergency bag of peanuts in my kayak. It gets old and kind of mildewy on the outside, but it's still sealed, lasts forever. And just in case I need something to eat, a little salt or something, I got that bag of peanuts in there is good. So, everybody's got their own little, I know for Jack and Eric Stacy, I know they need their rolls of toilet paper.
I don't. I just splash it off. It's easier. He needs a shell pile. He's got shell piles marked all over on his GPS because he's got to have a shell pile. I could care less. Middle of the channel in front of bridge side, I could care less.
Yeah,
gotta go.
Yeah, you got to make sure you find that hard mud though. Don't just step out thinking you're not going to sink, because there have been many a person to try to get
tell
there.
you all about that. I've been in a bind more than I would care to mention.
You wish you would have been in a bind. That wasn't the case. So anyway, I have caught quite a few trout. I guess since I've been fishing mostly Grand Island and Highway 1 since the redfish, what was that, Redfish Rumble? We had the fish pack.
Yep.
We had the fish, was at Terrebonne Parish. So basically since then, I haven't really fished anywhere else. So I have caught a couple of trout.
Yeah,
Just
I've
one
seen
or
it
two.
because I know Mrs. Action Jack seems to be cooking a lot of trout this year. I've seen a lot of plates with
That's
speckled
what I
trout
like
on
to
it.
eat. I don't know
I
about
know.
y'all, but I like to eat trout.
I know. Hey, look,
I think Jack's
very
the
healthy.
reason why we're having to lower the trout limits.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
He's just clearing them out.
I will
So,
tell
Jack-
you, it brings me great pleasure to piss off the guides at Bridgeside, like at 11:30 any given day, and they're like sitting there with 60 or 70 little scrawny trout, and I'm filling up a 1.5 gallon, 2 gallon Ziplocs with a limited trout. They don't like me very much.
Yeah, I'd like to have that problem.
You'd have to go
So,
fishing
Jack,
once in a while, Sean, and you'd have to stay for a while once you got there and actually fish.
I catch fish when I go. I just it's challenging.
Just never go.
I'm back
I know.
here. I'm sitting here arranging. I don't have the luxury of you guys that can sit on the efforts that I take to put these tournaments together and to have to put these podcasts together and all that other stuff, all the free time that y'all have. But Jack, seriously though, I know you've been fishing a lot down LA1. Obviously, during the summertime, you were hitting Grand Isle all the time. We're going to be mid to late October when this tournament hits. Are the trout starting to move north now?
Sure. I fished like the weekend before falling tide. I had one of the best limits of trout I've had down there all year. It was 6.5 quarts of fillets for a limited trout. So they were all, and yes, I was mad at them and I took it out on them. And then, so for falling tide, I'm like, hey, even though the tide is opposite of the way it was going the weekend before, it was incoming tide the Saturday before, but the day of falling tide was going out all morning. I said, even though it's going out, there's fish there. And basically, when everybody was like saying, I'm going here, I'm going there, I was just kind of waiting to see what happened. And I went out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I went and got my ice at Bridgeside, and I walked out to the end of the marina, and I looked down in the water, and I saw green water with like 2 feet of visibility. And I'm like, why go anywhere else? And I just launched there, and I went north. Caught trout right away, drifted the channel all the way down to Elmer's and fished, on all the sand points and everything for a flounder. I mean, I caught my trout early and I fished for flounder till 11 o'clock. Didn't get a bite, just kept catching more and more trout. So, I mean, they were just there. So are they still there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I went down last weekend and we fished further north. We found a few trout in the morning. The wind kicked up really fast. And the bite just stopped. I think it was a combination of the full moon, high winds, and high pressure. There just wasn't no bite on. I couldn't catch a hardhead, much less a trout.
The blood of bluebird dive?
Oh, completely. And the wind was like steady 15 miles an hour nonstop with some gusts higher. So
what did you say that was, Phil?
That where or what?
What day did you say that was?
That was last Saturday.
Last Saturday, okay.
And so I spent the night thinking it would be better on Sunday, and I fished like around Fouchon on Sunday, and I got a few hits, caught a trout here and there early in the morning, caught a bull red. I probably had 7 hits and caught 3 trout and a bull red all morning. Got out the water at 11:30. I'm like, nah, I had enough, just based on the day before. There was a bite right when the sun came up, and that was it. But this weekend should be pretty good. I don't know if y'all have looked at the tide, but one of the reasons I wanted to fish Saturday, because there was only 0.3 of a foot tide, and that's what we're going to see at Trout Challenge. It's 3/10.
why
That's
it's a
not a
challenge.
lot.
Yep.
That's
Neat
not
stuff.
a lot of water running. So, it's going to be one of those days. Look for the wind-blown shoreline, look for wind-blown water, pray for 5 to 10 or 10 to 15 just to move water.
Yeah.
But I think we'll catch fish.
Jack, you've been using your normal voodoo and under cork, or you've been maybe top water? What
I have this routine. I'll pull up to an area and I'll just start fan casting. I'll throw a top water first, then I'll throw a jig head, then I'll throw a slow suspend, a slow suspend bait, a hard bait, and then last I'll throw. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 casts. I'm talking about 20 casts for each one. I mean, I'm covering a lot of area. And then my last thing is I'll throw a popping cork, but I'm only going to throw the popping cork 6, 8, 10 times. They're either going to hit it or not, and then I'm going to move on, move forward, move up, move down, move up a current line, down a current
What about that, Jack? You throwing that?
What is that?
He doesn't even throw that. It was so expensive, he doesn't even throw it. He just rigs it up. He throws it once. He's I don't like this. There's too many obstacles. There's some logs or some oyster shells. I don't want to lose it.
I've thrown it a handful of times.
Does it float or sink?
It's a super, super slow sinker.
You could definitely catch fish on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Easy.
I get scared.
You could definitely, you get 4 or 5 feet of water with some moving water, you could definitely catch fish on that. I've caught fish on both sides of Highway 1 pretty much everywhere. I mean, there's fish all around down there. I've caught fish everywhere I've gone. There's no secret spot. Just look for good conditions. Look for clean moving water and fish the shit out of it, Don't get right on top of them. Fish at a distance. I find that the cleaner the water and the better conditions, the spookier the trout are. So, my deal is how far can you cast it? Because they're Jack, right past there.
When are you going to start pre-fishing cocodrie?
The week after.
Trout challenge? Yeah. Yeah.
No, not really. Not really.
You may only get a weekend or so.
I don't know. I figure I'll get a couple of weeks in. I have
before we do the cutoff. There'll be that 3-week dead period.
3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Usually, 2 to 3 weeks.
I thought it was like 1 week.
Oh no! It's at least 2 weeks. We don't want people like you going out there and pounding all the good fish, And,
because I'd stay in close and just catch everything, kill everything I could.
Yeah, we're starting the dead period. What, November 1st?
Something like that.
I think November 1st in the tournament.
Yeah. I think November 1st. Yeah, because it's November 20. So hang on, let me look at my calendar real quick.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 weeks. Yeah, the week before Thanksgiving.
So the tournament's the 19th, so it'll probably start November 1st, and everybody can fish the 18th. So
I might make one trip, but that's it. And really, that's about all I want because I don't like cocodrie.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Cocodrie can be really good or it can be really bad. Now,
I have heard that the hotel has been bought out and the guy's doing a lot of really good stuff down there. He improved the launch, built a new bulkhead. I heard people have told me that it's getting really nice down there. So
the restaurant's going to be open, the bar's going to be open, which is usually all shut down this time of year. So they're trying to make it a year-round destination, which would be great. Certainly, I know some of us have already started booking our rooms. So if you qualify for the championship, make sure you go ahead and sign up and get there. I did want to cover one thing real quick, Jack, and I'm glad you're on because we had used a picture of you previously and we had to take it down. As we go to more CPR tournaments in the future, especially with some things regarding, the redfish population and the big trout and everything, this is going to be important going forward, and that's going to be a CPR measurement, and we're going to show you what we're going to be allowing here. So as you'll see on the screen, this will be the area of hand placement. below the gill, above the back under fin, the dorsal fin, you can put your hand there. You can pinch the tail, but you're not allowed to hold the tail. So, you can pinch it to get the measurement, but you can't hold it. You hold your hand there. You can't hold the head. We're going to be real strict on this, and we're going to show this again before the tournament. We got pictures posted. It's pretty easy. You can put that left hand right there in the middle of the trout. I know it's a little bit harder with the 12 inchers. So you're just going to have to use 2 fingers or something. But
So why do you have to take mine down? It was underneath the gill plate or something?
I think initially because we're trying to focus in on a solid measurement. So what we had really, here's what happened. Redfish. We used to allow like Hobie where you could pinch the tail and stuff. But what happened is when we do redfish tournaments, you get people that had 5 perfect redfish. It's really hard to catch 5 perfect redfish, 5 26 and 3/4 inch redfish. What was happening is they were pinching the tail, manipulating the tail, which was legal.
But they were covering the spot, which they were covering the spot, which is unique on every fish.
Well, it wasn't covering the spot, but they were able to bend that tail to where they'd get the 26 and 3/4 or hold it in place to take that picture, and you'd get those perfect redfish, which was perfectly legal. But we started looking at what some other clubs were doing, some other tournaments were doing, and said, look, you can put the redfish down, you can put your hand on it to hold them in the middle, you can't touch that tail. Not to mention, you're right, we don't want the spots covered up. We don't want people lodging protests. We want every fish to count. We hate DQing fish because it's using results. Someone's calling me on tournament day, and I've got to spend 10 minutes on the phone with them, 10 minutes on the phone with Judge, and I hate that. Just take your picture, get it right, so I don't have to be called because it's really a pain for me, and we hate DQing fish.
I think that killing all the big fish for a tournament's sake, I just don't like it.
Agreed.
And I only had like 2 trips this summer where I kept a bunch of 17, 18, 20 inch fish. That day, a couple of weeks ago, when I had 6.5 quarts, I had like only maybe 2 fish that were right at 20 inches, but the rest of them were all just beefy 18 to 19 inch fish. They were just thick fish. But I pretty much let go anything over 19 on most days. I rather eat a 15, 16 inch fish is really what I prefer to eat. And I like CCA, especially.
I like the 12s myself. I just like them small and crispy, and now those are gone.
We don't fry. We don't fry them, so that's we don't fry them. So I like something a little bit bigger.
Those 13.5s will be just right.
Somebody asked me at Fallen Tide, why didn't I weigh any of the fish I was catching all summer for CCA? And I said, well, I didn't have a 4.5 pound fish. And he said, you're stupid because they have a 2nd and 3rd place and you would have won both, because at the last minute, somebody weighed like a 1.5 pound and a 1 3/4 pound fish and won 2nd and 3rd place. Oh. I had a bunch of 3+ pound fish. I just didn't have any 4.5 pound fish.
Yeah.
So next year
it'd be really nice for CCA to switch over to that. There's really no I know the urge is there. Look, when you catch a big fish, and trust me, because it's happened to me. But when you catch a big fish, especially a trout, the urge is to keep it. You want to keep.
I got over it. I started taking pictures of it.
Yeah, you start taking pictures, and that's really what you look back at, especially if you got them on a measuring board and you can do those things. And hopefully CCA will see the light. And I think that they're probably thinking they're going to get a big drop off in the people that will want to fish it if they have to get a certain kind of measuring board or have to have that measuring board on with them. But you know what? They'll learn.
Yeah.
If you really want to try to keep the trout alive in a kayak, it's really, really difficult to do that. It's doable on a redfish. When I won the CCA star in the kayak division, I tried to keep that trout alive, And I mean, I did everything possible. In my, what I thought, there was no way that fish was going to live, and I didn't feel great about it. But oh well.
My buddy won Shoreline last year, or second place in Shoreline, and he caught the trout not far from Bridgeside, fishing on the side of the road. Iced it down real quick, drove all the way to Gale's bait shop because he didn't want anybody from Bridgeside to know that he caught it. And he did it so fast that she weighed the fish. He brought the fish back out to the bayou and revived it and swam away.
Wow.
That's pretty neat.
That's what I said. Because there was a bonus. You got a bonus weight for live release. And Gale watched the fish, and Terry watched the fish swim away. So
wow.
he had two witnesses, and the fish was alive. So he was
That's
pretty
great.
excited about that, because he got really pissed off at me when I started dogging him out for keeping all those big fish, and then he realized he needed to weigh them.
Hey, I mean, the thing is with the CPR too. I mean, the way we run the CPRs, if you want to keep fish, you're more than welcome to keep fish you catch, as of course, as long as it's legal.
But you don't have to.
But you don't have to.
Exactly. A lot of people don't feel like going back and cleaning fish after they, after they've been fishing all day. And for me, I don't like freezing fish. So I'm either going to bring it home with the intention of cooking it in 2 or 3 days, or I'm throwing it back.
Right. Good.
I did a ton of work cleaning fish Sunday morning after Redfish Rumble. There were a lot of fish.
That's because you were going, yeah, I'll take him. Go ahead.
There was a lot of people who did not want fish on Saturday, and I was not going to let those go to waste.
Yeah.
Hey, but on the other hand, it was great that many people weighed a fish. That is fabulous. Even if they didn't win anything, just to be able to actually stand in line and weigh a fish, that was a really great thing to see, that so many people got to weigh it. Because the way y'all are all up on the stage, but the weigh-in line is a whole different form of socialization. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Because you're talking to whoever's in front of you in line. You're looking at each other's fish. You're talking. People who have weighed or walking the line back to see who caught what. So the weigh-in line is really a kind of. I mean, that's the first. I fished my first tournament in 2017. It was fall and tide, and I made friends with the bros because I was in line behind them, and they actually talked to me. So I think the weigh-in line is a cool thing to an extent. You know what I mean? I'd much rather the CPR and everybody just show up, at the weigh-in or whatever at the event, and a couple of drawings or whatever, a little love, and then here's the awards. I like that format better. Why are we having to stop fishing at 2:30? Whose idea was that, Mr. Tournament Director?
Well, so wait a minute. Is it 2 or 2:30?
I think it's 2.
Yeah, but that's from 6 to 2. That's 8 hours. That's 8 hours of fishing.
Why? It's okay if you want to limit yourself, but why would you want to limit me? That's an extra half hour of fishing. Come on, bro. What is wrong with you?
You get to get your
8 hours
on dawn.
8 hours of fishing, and you get to submit your picks by 2:30. Here's the thing, though. You don't have to be at the weigh-in for 2. You don't have to pick up for 1.
I know. But I wish it was 3. I like the 3 o'clock cutoff.
I get it, but some people have families and other stuff to get to, and
an hour is really going to make. I mean, look, if Benjamin Day can go fishing, you can get an extra hour, Sean. I assure you.
Here's the thing: if you can't catch your trout by 10 o'clock in the morning,
don't say that, because I caught the
hour
fish.
From 2 to 3 ain't going to help you.
I caught the fish that gave me 3rd place in Fall and Tide last year at 10 minutes to 3. I caught the fish that put me in 3rd place at Minimalist 2 years ago at 2:48, and the cutoff was 3. That extra hour is a huge.
Gonna have to do it by 1 You're gonna have to do it by 150 in a couple weeks from now.
Shit.
Yeah. So
Killing
you're
me,
really going to
Smalls.
have to. I mean, Jack.
And
I'm
why
sorry,
can't we start till like 6 o'clock in the morning? I mean, I want to be somewhere fishing at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to be starting up that late. Y'all fish like girls.
All righty then. Jack, two questions for you. Two questions.
Shoot.
One, where are you fishing for trout challenge? Like, are you fishing Golding Meadow or Leeville? If you're willing to answer.
I'm not. I don't know.
Okay.
Would be
Fair
the
enough.
answer, but I will tell you, it won't be Golden Meadow. It'll be either Grand Isle or Leeville.
Grand Isle in late October, you think, huh? Really? Okay.
Those big trout stay on the beach all year long.
Second
They're
question.
always there.
Second question. Memless Challenge is coming up in January. The Leeville launch is kind of still screwed up. There's no lodging down there. Golden Meadow has its own challenges, but it's a little bit bigger area. Personally, I think it's a better fishery that time of year than Leeville. But there's always that debate. Leeville, Golden Meadow now, because it's going to be a shotgun launch this year. I think now that COVID's kind of run its course, it's back to being a shotgun launch. What do you think? I want the action's opinion here. Do you like Leeville or Golden Meadow in January?
Based on the fact that I've talked to people like Galliano and they've got half of their rooms in the main building ready, and they're waiting for furniture. They're literally sitting there with rooms ready, waiting for furniture any day now. They were hoping to have half of their rooms in that main building open for October 1st, but the furniture's late. So I'm thinking probably mid-November, if not sooner, they'll have those additional rooms. I know how you feel, and I do like the shotgun launch. I really liked it where you had a choice 2 years ago, and you got your choice between 3 options. Now, that turned out really bad for a lot of people because
they picked Leeville.
They did not heed the advice.
Hashtag Gillespie.
Yeah, well, he's the one I said, man, I'd be fishing Leeville if I was you. And he did, and I kind of feel bad about it because I didn't really think about the circumstances, what would happen to you. Because, I mean, once you put your boat in the water, if you can't fish, you can't fish. But he wasn't the only one. There was a bunch of people down there. They just ruined their day. I mean, people caught fish at Bassons that day. Wasn't it all 3, or is it just 2? Oh, it was 3. It was top water.
It was 3.
Here's the thing we found.
Here's the thing we found is that people love that all together, everybody there, shotgun launch deal, and that will be a weigh-in tournament. It won't be a.
If I had to choose one, I would say Golden Meadow because of that.
Yeah. I like Golden. I think the fishery's better. I think it's more conducive. You got a lot more options. One of the things I found out, and Jack,
I think you have less options personally.
Really? Let me ask you this: have you found Leeville some areas to be really filled in after Ida? Because we went out, John and I did back in February in Leeville, and man, there were some canals that were just, 6 inches.
I was there. I was there in the spring, and I did find that. And I'll give you a particular area. The pipeline that goes into South Lake from like the graveyard, that long pipeline. Once you got to the point where you had to stay in the pipeline, you really couldn't. It was marsh on the left, and you couldn't get through, and the right was all just clumps of mud. You had to stay in that canal to get into the bottom of South Lake. That canal was almost impassable. I mean, I had to paddle a whole bunch of it. Now, you can drive a boat through it. So
really?
I don't know if Catfish Lake is like that, but that's what I would have to imagine Catfish Lake is like. Whether it is or isn't, I don't know. Maybe you should ask Brock to come on and tell us about that. But that's where
Catfish Lake.
I thought that's where he fished, but okay, whatever.
No, I didn't say he
Whatever.
didn't. I just said I don't know anything about Brock Fish and Catfish Lake.
Okay. I don't know either, but as somebody who's been fishing there, I haven't fished there. I just haven't fished there.
I'm not saying
I know a lot of I'll tell you that a tremendous amount of landmass is missing from Weeville. Anything southeast of the graveyard, it's just all open water now. It used to be all marsh. There's nothing there. There's
Really?
there's absolutely nothing there. There's probably, 3 by 3 miles of just square marsh that are gone. Just nothing there. What used to be land is not even there anymore. And it's all like 2 to 3 feet of water. And if you knew where the channels were, like I have a new GPS card. I'm kind of wishing I had the old one because it would show me where the channels were before. Now it's just open water. I don't know where anything's at. So
yeah, especially on the east side.
I don't know what it's like. That's kind of what I'm having to think Catfish Lake is like. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, look, we got to cover a couple other things. We got about 15 minutes left. I got Mr. Austin sitting here. He's ready to come on. He's been in the green room waiting patiently. We're going to bring him on. I got to bring up some standings here for AOY. We're going to talk about wild card, championship qualification, things of that nature. But Jack, as always, I appreciate you coming on.
Jack,
thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time.
Let me know where we're fishing Saturday.
Before I forget,
we're fishing in the water.
Trout Challenge. We are looking. We're the standings will be turned off the entire time, so you won't know where you're going, who's winning, who's doing what. You won't know what big trout is. We are going to be working to have food served at the weigh-in. Well, it won't be a weigh-in, but there will be a award ceremony at the pavilion. So we will have a big gathering. We'll have food there. We're going to be reviewing the final standings. There'll be an opportunity for everybody to get together and talk and do all that.
We need to get some more of those turtle hats.
Turtle hats.
Yeah.
I don't know about the turtle hat. Who had the
Somebody
turtle
turns
hat?
Over, they get a turtle hat at the end.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, good
I
deal.
bet Benjamin Day can probably find us a couple of those.
That's just fun. That's just fun. It's more fun than the duck.
Absolutely.
Because you can do it year round. You can do it for every tournament.
One of the things we found is that everybody wants to get together after, and we're trying to recreate the environment of a weigh-in, but with a CPR. So we're still getting together and having fun and getting to talk about our day. I've actually got a projector that the club bought. What we're also trying to do is incorporate pictures from the tournament into the projector on a screen so we can look at Jack's big trout.
I hope y'all get to see it. I hope it shows its ugly face. All right. Get Austin on. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jack. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Later, Jack.
We're going to add to here Mr. Austin Johnson. Look at him all ripped up. You can tell that's a man that builds sheds.
I do build sheds.
Look at them guns on him.
Strong.
Oh, that's not good. I'm trying to get Austin, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Oh, bro, just busy, man. I made it home from New Orleans about 6:30, and whenever you went live, I was like, I think I promised to call into this.
Yeah. Oh, look, they're asking for skunk hats. So they want turtle hats, skunk hats, and apparently coonskin hats as well now. New for 2023.
Hey, that's something I'll get behind right there.
That's what we need.
Now, Jonathan, I didn't get to ask you. We talked about Jack's experience. I know that you went fishing down Highway 1 recently. Why don't you tell us about that trip, how you did? We're not going to ask you to reveal any secret locations or anything, but maybe you could tell us what you saw and what happened.
Did you say Highway 23?
No, Highway 1.
Yeah, no, Highway 1. Yeah, so the other day, I think this last Friday, I had to be down in Fourchon super early, like dark 30 for work. Took care of work, of course. I brought my kayak with me and launched at an undisclosed location somewhere in South Lafourche Parish. and I didn't get on the water till about 8 o'clock. But within the first hour and a half ish, I had a slam that probably would have put me in the top 3 at Fallen Tide. So, and Sean and I were talking on the phone that Saturday morning before Fallen Tide as I was heading to where I wanted to go launch. I was like, you know what? Based on what I'm seeing, similar to what Jack was saying, I think I need to do something different than what my original plan was. I should have trusted my gut, and I didn't, and it came back to bite me. But on just the trout side, I mean, I caught more trout on topwater than I have probably the whole rest of the year in a pretty short period of time. Once that sun got up and the bluebird skies were out, it was pretty tough after that. But I had a couple hours there where it was any little piece of structure you found, you throw a topwater by it, you're getting hit. But I could tell that the fish
I
were
was
definitely
the same with the redfish. Fallen Tide, like before 6:45, I had 3 redfish in the boat, and it was just which I was fishing Leeville, and I wasn't there for redfish, but I just got into one little area on a wind-blown shoreline, and every topwater cast, I thought it was a big trout, and I was pulling in 20, 22, and then finally I pulled in a 24 and a half redfish. I was like, all right, I need to leave this area because it's nothing but redfish. And then that's when I caught my trout, but I had a red and a trout at 7 o'clock.
Those are the heartbreakers when you catch redfish on topwater like that, and you think you have a monster trout, and you reel it in. It's a 20, 24-inch redfish.
Yeah, I hate catching redfish on topwater, man. Taking those hooks out. I mean, it's fun, but when you're in a kayak and they got treble hooks flying and a pissed off redfish, that's not good at all.
Oh yeah, I actually got a treble hook in the back of my ankle that same morning, but it wasn't it was a trout.
So real quick, because we're about to go to AOY standings, and championship qualifications, all that. Over under on the 5 trout stringer for Trout Challenge. How many inches will it take to win?
To be honest, I'm gonna shoot high on this just because I've been talking to a few anglers who I really think can put up some big numbers. I'm going over 995.
Woo! Wow.
I really think you're going to have
90 or 95 because that's a big difference. That's an extra inch per trout.
I mean, I'm thinking about, let's call it 92 and a half over.
Okay, let's call it 92 and a half. Jonathan, I know you were telling me someone's going to get in a school of 18 to 22-inch trout.
I think that's definitely possible.
Because 22-inch trout are really common when you get those big schools.
It wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
Wasn't it randomness last year? Somebody caught like 4 20-inch trout in the first hour, 45 minutes. They won big trout last minute. Not St. Bernard, but the one last year with the 3 dimensional.
We've got one of our users says over 100 inches.
No way. I think there's a couple decent trout that Brett caught. I think betting line said at 87.5.
That's got to be Francis.
I feel like that's a pretty safe estimate. I'm gonna say I bet the winning stringer is 89 inches with a 21-inch kicker.
89. So you're looking at about almost an 18-inch average.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
that's what it's going to take.
I'm going to say
you have a good cool front coming through Wednesday. I think by Saturday, I think the fish will be chewing. I think there will definitely be plenty of fish caught, but I think it might be tough to get some of those, 19, 20 inchers. But there will definitely be a handful of trout over 20 inches or 20 plus inch trout caught for sure.
I'm going with 86. 86. I don't think we've had that really cool weather come in yet. I don't think the big girls are in yet. I think you'll have someone, if you're lucky, will have a couple 18s, and a couple of 16s. Maybe they get a 20, but they also get a 14 or something like that. So I'm going 86 inches. I think I'm going
I'll
to say
take the-
big
I'll
trout,
take the over.
probably 21.
I'll take the over on
You
86.
take the over on the
$20.
86. Okay.
I'll
All
take
right.
the over on 86 for $20.
I didn't know we established that as a betting line.
For $20, Jonathan.
As I recall, the betting line was set at 87.5. So are you taking the over on the 87.5 or the under?
Definitely.
I'm saying I think the line should be 86.
Oh. All right. Well, let's get to AOY because we haven't covered it yet. And we're going to, let me see if I can get this to do this right. Okay, there we go. I got it. So slide number 1, this is what we got. Let me move this out the way. And I'm going to move that out the way. Look at me go. I'm figuring out this StreamYard. It's pretty easy to use once you figure it out. Josh Red. Now these are assuming no drops, just straight up tournaments, and obviously if you fished all 3 first tournaments, all 3 of our first 3 tournaments, and you caught fish, you're going to be in the top because very few people did that. Matter of fact, there were a lot of goose eggs. And I think we only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, actually 6 catch fish in all 3 tournaments. So you've got Josh Red, first place at 868 points. Brett Cotard in second. Brett in second in this thing, 860 points. David Warner in third at 853. Right behind him is the young dynamo Shane Meek, 852. Derek Douglas, 847. Chris Murphy's up there at 830. And then everybody else is basically, only have maybe not fished the first 3 or didn't catch fish in all 3. So those are your top things. Now, the results will change after Trout Challenge. Everybody still gets a drop. So if you missed a tournament, you're still good. You can drop that tournament. If you can't make Trout Challenge, you're still good if you fished the first 3 and caught fish. And we got the championship. So a lot can change between here and there. Cocodrie is going to be really interesting. There is a possibility for a skunk in Cocodrie. Even if you don't think you have a shot, you never know what will happen. So that'll be big. We've got a lot of people qualified here. Everybody in green initially up here has qualified. Even the Shane Meek, Michael Meek in the red, they've all qualified. Let's look at the wild card standings here. We've got let's see, the wild card we've got right now. Luke Beslin's in pretty good positioning. Josh Lewis is in pretty good positioning at 542. Luke at 540. So those are your top 2 qualifiers right now. I think we're only going to have 2 wild cards. Now, I don't know. Is Josh fishing Trout Challenge, or is he able to make that one, John? I forget.
I think he's planning on fishing Trout Challenge, but I know that he probably is not going to be able to fish the championship. So
yeah, and if he can't make it, it'll probably bump down to the next wild card if he can't make it or something.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunity here. We've got some guys that have only fished 1 tournament. Some guys come in from out of town, from Florida, from Texas, and they were able to qualify. So that's all good. And just with work. So, Cody Drago, he made it. So we've got a lot of new people in here. Benton Parrott, he made it. He's just got to pay for 1 other tournament. So remember, if you qualify for the championship and you haven't paid for that second tournament, you need to pay for that second tournament. And we're going to start reminding people this week when I have a chance to go through it. So it's all looking good. I mean, lot can change after Trout Challenge. We'll obviously do another update. It's going to be
realistically. I mean, if you're in that top, like I would say, where does it cut off? If you're in that top, I'd say 5 to maybe 8, 10 spots, something like that, depending on how crazy Trout Challenge and the championship goes.
Yeah,
I mean, you're still in the game.
And we pay out 5 spots for Angler of the Year. So, first place is $1,000 cash, but fourth, second, third, fourth, and fifth, there's something to play for because there's, I think, probably going to be some gift cards from Academy, one of our new big sponsors. is going to be there. So you'll get some. I mean, you can get anything at Academy. Fishing, hunting, outdoor stuff. So lots of stuff you can do there. So anyway, we'll have a better idea after Trout Challenge this week and or next weekend. As far as Austin, when are you guys going up for Trout Challenge?
So it's still up in the air here if I'm even gonna make it.
So first I'm hearing of that.
Yeah, my schedule is jam packed for the next probably week and a half. So I don't know if I want to spend my only off day fishing all day, but more than likely I'll
Jonathan,
probably go down.
How full of shit is Austin right now? His only off day fishing. He doesn't know if he wants to spend it fishing Trout Challenge. What are you buying that?
My guess is that Jen's in the background probably listening.
Man, I'll be down Friday. Just change stuff. But no, more than likely, I'm gonna try to get down there Friday just to peek around. I'm gonna stay at my aunt's house in Galliano. She'll be there this weekend versus that weekend, and so if anything, but if not, I'll just drive in Saturday morning and look for that brand new Toyota Tacoma, and I'll know I'm in the right area.
There you go. That's smart thinking right there. Strategic.
That's right. It's been real quiet with some of the bigger trout guys in the club, and Steve and Brendan and a couple of those guys. Haven't seen. I know they've been busy.
I've never had
year.
luck with trout. I hate them almost.
I tell you, if you can find the right school, though, you can
get right in a hurry.
You can catch them in a hurry. That's the thing. You can literally have your 5 fish and just go take a nap somewhere. Hopefully it's gonna be real pretty though. It's one of those days where you just want to fish all day.
I bet somebody will have between 85 and 90 inches within the first hour of the tournament.
Well, to be honest, I think the winner will probably have his fish before, I would say, between the first 2 hours, the winning stringer will be caught.
Yeah.
Probably
maybe with an upgrade later in the day, you get lucky.
Yeah, maybe a small upgrade, like a 1/4 inch on your smaller fish. But overall, I think the winner has his fish in the first 2 hours.
Where do y'all think the winning stringer will come from?
To be honest, I'm leaning towards the Bobby Lynn's Fouchon area.
I think it's going to be south. I think it's going to be between. I think it's going to be between Fouchon and Grand Isle. The way the weather's setting up, it's not going to be that cold. I don't think the wind's going to be that bad. If it stays that way, it's going to be one on the coast.
Wow, that's some interesting theories. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to try to get the jump spars catered fall and tide. The pasta was unbelievable. They did such a great job bringing it there. We're trying to get them arranged to cater for us for Trout Challenge. So look, guys, if you haven't registered yet, go ahead and register. We need to get an idea how many people we're going to be. We need to buy food for, and it's hard to wait to the last minute. So if y'all haven't registered yet, go ahead and sign up through TourneyX. You just look up Trout Challenge on there. Obviously, look at the rules as far as measuring. We set the picture earlier. Just be sure when y'all are measuring the fish, you use the right picture. Again, there's a couple of different boards you can use. You can use the Catch Metal board. You can also use the Bayou Coast, the Elite Series Check-It Stick. Don't use any other boards. Make sure you have your identifier. Make sure you hold the trout in the right way. Those are the 3 things: right board, right holding, right placement of the hand, and identifier.
Edit here.
You have all that. Yeah, exactly.
The right identifier.
Identifier, not
if I get
an identifier, the correct identifier.
The correct identifier. If I get a chance, if I get to go pre-fishing and I'm lucky enough to catch a trout, I'll I'll try to record maybe a little video and post it up on kind of what my process is, just so everybody knows.
Absolutely.
'Cause it's-
Absolutely.
Thank you, because I lose more fish off the board than anybody else I know.
You gotta be prepared to do it, and as long as you do that, it's not too bad.
But it's been the
Exactly.
best for me. Chasing a Massey's bass, I've literally lost like 6 or 7 in a row off the board, and I just
It's gonna be okay, Austin. It's gonna be okay. Well, look, we'll be back. We might try to do one more show before next week, before the tournament. If not, we'll be back the week after the tournament. We're going to recap it. We're also going to we'll cover all the qualifiers for the championship, and we'll start touching base on the championship, what it's going to look like, where we're going to be, what's going on, who's doing what, and all that. So, it's been an hour. So another good show. Thanks, Austin, for coming on. Jonathan, as always, appreciate you coming on. Jack, thanks for coming on, telling us what you know. And all you guys out there and ladies, look forward to seeing you next show. And hopefully, absolutely, we'll see you guys out there at Trout Challenge at the awards ceremony. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.
There we go.